Yo! Hey everybody, welcome back. Psych Derek here, and today we have part 3 of my Chicago finds. Kind of wrapping it up here. I got, I think, 6 or 7 LPs left, and then I do have like several more to share from both online and stuff I picked up here locally at the shops for some trade. So stuff even goes back even before the Chicago trip. So hopefully, probably after Memorial Day, I'll try to wrap it up, and I think I got one coming in the mail yet, so should equal it out, and I've got some pretty good stuff lined up for the next one. Anyways, we're gonna jump right into this. So, and like I mentioned, I think I kind of have an idea of like where I picked all these up from, but if I forget, sorry once again. But I do remember where I got this. So this was from Bloomington, Illinois. We got this one at Reverberation Vinyl. And Alex is actually the one that brought this to me in the shop that day. This is the Collectors with their sophomore LP, Grass and Wild Strawberries. This is a white label promo. The disc is about VG. It's a solid VG. It's not super rough, but it's got some rough moments, I guess, for $1. So I'll definitely be upgrading down the road. As you can tell, the cover's seen some better days. Sorry, this is the gatefold. Yeah, this is one I was, vaguely familiar with, a few songs, but, they kind of left my memory and didn't really stick with me at the time. But now that I've kind of settled down and listened to this, I spun this like almost every evening for about a week when I first moved in here. And, yeah, I think I almost prefer this one over the debut a little bit. I never really got into the whole lengthy tracks or this whole suite on side 2 on their first album. Lydia Purple's probably the best thing from there, but this one, it's kind of got this like loose concept going throughout. All the songs are written by a gentleman who was not with the group, George Riga. And I guess they performed like all these songs on stage or on television at one time. And, like I said, it was kind of also this kind of progressive, loose concept idea that they had going on. It's kind of better if you take the whole LP as a whole, maybe rather than individual tracks, but there are some good standouts on here on both sides. Lots of tracks to dive into as well. Tracks like Don't Turn Away From Me might be my favorite on here. Rainbow of Fire and Belong Rain for some highlight tracks. All over the map on this one. Like I said, prog, pop psych, little bit of kind of classical arrangements going on. Kind of pretty ambitious, really. And you can still find this album, $10 in clean shape. So if you guys are kind of holding out on them grails, this is one of those cheapos you can pick up and it'll satisfy for sure. So thank you, Hicks, for donating your copy. You can definitely tell just by looking at the sleeve, it's been shuffled around on piles of records, just how faded it is. But yeah, like I said, I'll pick up an upgrade down the road. And then they later on went on to form as Chilliwack, which I guess their first album or so are pretty much in the same realm. That's what I've heard anyways, but got to kind of dive into that one. Here's another cheapie I've definitely been on the hunt for, and this was like $5. It's not the perfect copy, but it's definitely going to fill the space for a while. The Glitter House, Colorblind. I believe it's a New York-based band, one and only LP. This band's kind of notorious for doing the backing sounds for the Barbarella soundtrack, or at least providing some of the instrumentation. I don't know if they did like the film score, but they had some connection there. For the most part, I think a lot of people can agree, and I kind of agree with the majority of people that say side 1's probably got the strongest tracks, but I do like side 2 as well. I Lost Me a Friend. It's probably like one of the top 3 cuts from here for me. It's got kind of a progressive pop sound, but also, once you get to side 2, they kind of start going in like this kind of blue-eyed soul, kind of psych soul sound. And I think they do a pretty decent job, but It's on the light side for sure. Kind of reminds me of like that one album on Uni, Orange Colored Sky. Very light pop, but yeah, not the best copy, but it's again probably a VG. And my favorite track's probably the second one on here, Princess of the Gingerland. Yeah, so you know, it's not going to totally blow your mind or anything, but it's definitely got some goods going for it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, so it's kind of suffers the fate with those you know, reflective covers, but that's how it goes. This is one of those cases where I discovered a track online through a private press mix. I think someone made a playlist of like just assorted private press records, and I still remember this cover and remember the track that stood out from here, and I had to pick this up. This is also from Reverberations. This is Spring Water. I spotted 3 copies of this. I swore they were like based out of Illinois, but apparently they're based out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is probably like a 1 or 2 track wonder. The whole thing's not great as I expected, but for that one track alone, which is Victory Song on side 1, you can still find that track on YouTube, and that's kind of how I got exposed to this one. Cover looks great. You know, it's very Christian-based rock, but it's pretty good for the most part. It's kind of more soft rock, AOR-friendly sorts of sounds, which were very heavy at that time. But that third track, though, Victory Song, musicianship gets cranked up a bit, and they really unleash on that one. There's some jazzy elements going on, not necessarily psychedelic. It's more like soft rock, but got some jazzy edges to it, but also lots of great use of phaser effects on that track. I think the other ones were Sunshine and Sitting by the Fire, kind of a decent track. So this came out in '77, I believe. Private pressing. They had a whole private press section, which, you know, if I had a whole day to spend, I would check those records out that they had. I mean, they had a whole row of stuff. I think I shared that in the video. They had like 2 different rows, so yeah, not totally mind-blowing. This might be going in the for sale pile. I just kind of picked it up, just kind of a spur of the moment thing, and checking that track out again, because it had been a few years since I heard it. So Spring Water. Now we get to the good stuff. This is one that I think I picked this up at Reckless. There's like 2 different locations for Reckless Records, and their discount section is pretty awesome. This one totally stood out to me. This was Johnny Blackburn and Mary Lauren with their private record Echoes of a Love's Reality. This came out in '81. This is a Gearson pressing. Found it for $3, which I'll take that price any day for stuff like this. This is such a beautiful album. The cover really reflects the music for sure. There's a whole romanticized, sort of fantasy-like quality to this music. Just imagine, like, you know, whatever Fantasia, whatever the definition of that means to you, you know, sort of a fantasy land mixed with some folk psych sounds, with some kind of progressive writings. This is going to be up your wheelhouse for sure. Comes with a booklet here. I don't know if this came with the originals, but it's got a lyric sheet and some info about them. I'm pretty sure they were a couple at the time, just based off their photos and some of the illustrations in here. So, some beautiful tracks. The one that stands out to me, which I recommend first, is Beautiful Lover on side 2. It's got a great kind of eerie, but also very beautiful at the same time, echoey flute, kind of this loner folk sound. But yet at the same time, there's this kind of like whimsical, you know, journey into some other realm. You know, it's almost like you're just trekking along and you just float into their world, man. I love records like that, you know, where they could just whisk you away. So, highly recommend this one if you guys are into those kind of Fantasia-like folk-like with some synths, you know, kind of smoothing the sound out a little bit. This came out in '81, but don't let that distract you. Production sounds nothing like the '80s, so recommended. This is also one I picked up at the same shop. This is Jonathan Kelly, Twice Around the Houses. Alex brought this to me as I was digging, and I had never seen this cover online before. Didn't really know much about this man at all. I mean, you look at the back, it's just the tracks and the lyrics, you know, shows the producer's name, all the credits, tells you nothing about him. So this is one of the later ones I listened to, and it was actually still sealed when I picked it up, and this was also $3. It's a promotional copy on RCA Victor, the Dynaflex, and yeah, what can I say about it? Very singer-songwriter, folk rock, folk pop inspired. Apparently this guy was based out of Ireland, you know, or at least he was born there. It's like his home country, and I think he was floating around, you know, the UK trying to find success. I think he did find some mild success there, and so much so that they sold this one in the US as well. So it must have had some kind of maybe radio play, but not for long. This one kind of sank into the obscurity, and I had never heard of it. I mean, I've kind of lost touch with a lot of singer-songwriter kind of records, but I usually know some of the better ones, like, you know, sort of in this kind of territory. But I did enjoy this though upon first listen. So tracks I recommend: Slingo Fair, second track, Ballad of Cursed Anna, and Rainy Town. Some highlights on here. Pretty delicate, you know, it's not going to totally rock your boat. Ambitious writer, so Jonathan Kelly. And then I got two more here. This is what's playing on the turntable now, and I also shared this in my last psychedelic trip. Human Expression, Love at a Psychedelic Velocity. Alex showed me this one. He's kind of like, you gotta get this if you don't have it. And I kind of knew, I mean, I'd seen the sleeve online, but I didn't really recognize it at the time who Human Expression was. But once I listened to Optical Sound, I was like, okay, I've heard this somewhere. Might have been on a comp or something. And that's the song, that's the track I shared on my last video. But this is pretty kick-ass. This is killer. Very moody, pretty downer garage, with some psych flourishes here and there. Optical Sound, title track, and Calm Me Down is probably my favorite on here, the last track. This has been repressed a few times. This band was based out of Orange County, California, and apparently Mars Bonfire wrote like their third single, which I believe was Sweet Child of Nothingness. And they offered, I think Mars Bonfire actually offered the band to record Born to Be Wild, but I think whoever was leading the band at the time rejected it. And it's too bad, because maybe they could have had more success than Steppenwolf. You never know. But I don't know if they could top it. I think Steppenwolf kind of perfected that song. You know, kind of makes it stand out now as kind of a classic. So I don't think they could top it. But then the last one here, this is one I've been after for quite a while, and I think I picked this up at I forget the place. I think it's Rare Records or something in Chicago. This is the one I didn't take photography in because I guess the guy doesn't allow that or something. So it's too bad, because he had some killer stuff, but prices were a little whack, you know, a little overpriced. But you know, I didn't really know how much this was going for online, but I just said I gotta get something from here, and I picked up a '80s reissue of Arcadium, Breathe a While. This came out in '69, originally on the Middle Earth label, which was a pretty small run label. I think the only other record that stands out on there is Writing on the Wall. But yeah, not a whole lot known about this group, except that this is their sort of take on, like, it's kind of during that period in the UK where bands were switching, you know, kind of out of the psych and freak beat sound, going towards that progressive transition, you know, into the 1970s. So it's got a lot going for it. You know, there's some production issues and maybe a little clumsiness here and there in the jamming. You know, you can tell the drummer's trying to keep up in some spots and little nitpicky things like that, but it's just stuff I just kind of listen to it. You know, you kind of notice after a while, but I really can't compare them to anybody else. They kind of have their own identity. They have their own structure going for them, and it grows on you for sure. This is not one that you're going to remember right away, because just how lengthy the tracks are and stuff like that. But very Hammond organ led, but also, you know, got these kind of like achy guitar licks, you know, kind of in the mix. You know, not overly heavy. Pretty cool cover, illustration, whatnot. So pretty bare bone label, but sound quality is pretty good. So Arcadium seems to be pretty scarce, so I don't see copies floating around too often. Anyways, guys, that about does it. So yeah, next video should be the online stuff and stuff I found locally here in Lincoln. So that stuff is quality stuff. So hope you guys are doing well. Take care, and we shall see you soon.